The greatest fear of aging isn't getting older, it's becoming dependent on others. And dependence starts long before a cane. It begins with low energy, weakness, and loss of autonomy. Some people reach their 80s active because they took care of this early. Others realize it too late. If you want to age with dignity, this is urgent. In this video, you will discover why the body loses strength and energy over the years, and why it's not just because of age. The common mistake that accelerates the loss of independence after 40. Which nutrients the body stops absorbing efficiently and how this affects daily energy. How active people in their 70s and 80s maintain energy, mobility, and independence. What can be done before dependence begins?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a question that I think, it's at the core of modern wellness. How do you not just live longer, but how do you feel genuinely, superhuman? Deep into your later years, we're talking about people in their 70s, their 80s, who are just operating with the energy of someone maybe half their age. Our sources today gave us these amazing examples. There was Mike, the 70-year-old rock drummer. He used to be totally worn out by noon. Now he's playing these 3-hour marathon sets. Or Eddie, who's 82 and still competing in tennis tournaments. Swimming laps every single day. These are people who are feeling the usual fatigue, the aches, but then something flipped. They found a way back to, real vitality. So the question is, what changed for them? Was it some crazy new diet, a new workout plan, or was it something more fundamental?
Well, the sources all seem to point to the same conclusion. The secret isn't some big radical overhaul, but it's about optimizing a single, and I mean often completely ignored, biological system. It's a mechanism that controls the flow of life itself through your body. We're talking about the endothelium, that's endothelium, and the tiny molecule that runs the whole show.
It sounds like a critical piece of the puzzle that almost everyone overlooks.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the science, which actually won a Nobel Prize, and understand why the system starts to fail. And this is the key part, how some of our normal healthy habits might actually be sabotaging it. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's start with what it is. The endothelium is really, it's just a single layer of cells.
Just one layer.
One single layer. But it lines all of your blood vessels. And I mean all of them, from the huge arteries near your heart, all the way down to the tiniest little capillaries in your fingers, your toes, your eyes, everywhere. And here's what's so surprising, the sheer scale of it. If you could take it out and spread all those cells flat, they would cover an area of almost 2 full football fields.
2 football fields, wow.
Right, so functionally, it really is the largest organ in your body.
Okay, so it's not just a passive lining like in a pipe, it's an entire system.
Exactly, it's the control panel. Its job is to regulate blood flow constantly. Moment to moment, it's deciding where to send blood, how much, whether to tighten a vessel or open it wide up. This whole process is what makes sure fresh oxygen, nutrients, everything gets to every single cell. If the endothelium is working well, you get perfect delivery. If it's sluggish, your cells are basically being starved.
So if this huge critical system gets sluggish, the things we feel aren't just, getting old, they're actually warning signs from cells that aren't getting enough oxygen.
Yeah.
And the sources list some really relatable examples of what that feels like. Things like that chronic fatigue where you just have to have a coffee or something sweet to get through the afternoon. Or, brain fog, trouble concentrating, not sleeping well. For Mike, the drummer, it was his cold hands and feet. That's a direct sign of poor circulation.
And that connection is so important. When blood flow gets restricted, things start to go wrong. For another person in the sources, Des, it was joint discomfort. He struggled on stairs for 15 years. We think that's a joint problem, but the source material really suggests it's often a blood flow problem first. And that sluggishness can lead to other things, like declining vision, lower sex drive, or, the big ones, high blood pressure and cholesterol. It all comes back to the pipes.
So if the endothelium is the organ controlling the pipes, what's the master switch? What's the signal that tells it to relax and open up? This, I think, brings us to that Nobel Prize discovery.
That's right. For the longest time, everyone just thought the endothelium was like a nonstick coating, like Teflon, inside a hose, passive. But that all changed in 1980. A pharmacologist named Robert Furchtgott showed that no, it's not passive at all. It was actively releasing something that told the blood vessels to relax.
So they knew it was happening, but they had no idea what something was.
Exactly. And the reason was that this messenger, whatever it was incredibly fast and fragile. It wasn't until 2 other scientists came along that they finally identified it. The signaling molecule was a gas.
A gas.
A gas. Nitric oxide. NO for short.
Huh. That seems really counterintuitive for a powerful messenger inside the body.
It is, and it's why it was so hard to find. Nitric oxide sends this immediate message telling the endothelium to relax, to expand, and that allows a surge of oxygen-rich blood to flow through. This discovery that this simple gas runs our entire circulatory system was so fundamental it earned all three of them the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1998. It really did change everything. The sources compare it to oil in a car engine. You need it constantly, otherwise the whole thing just seizes up. It's critical. NO is what keeps the endothelium flexible and healthy.
But the downside is that fragility you mentioned. It's a gas, so it only lasts a few seconds.
A few seconds at most.
Which means your body has to make a brand new supply constantly, 24/7. And this is where aging really hits us, right? We just lose the ability to keep up.
It's a steep decline, a precipitous one. The studies cited show that after our mid-20s, nitric oxide production just starts to plummet. And by the time most people hit their 70s, they've lost a staggering 75% of their peak production.
75%. That's a massive biological deficit. It explains so much, doesn't it? The fatigue, the brain fog, the blood pressure. It's the engine running dry. Okay, so the body must have a way to make it. The sources say there are two pathways. The first one uses an amino acid, L-arginine, and the endothelium converts that directly into nitric oxide. But of course, that's the one that slows down with age.
That's the problem, yes. That L-arginine pathway becomes really inefficient. First, the endothelium itself is damaged, it's sluggish, so the little enzymes inside the cells that do the conversion just don't work as well. And second, people try to fix it by taking L-arginine supplements, but the research shows that's often a waste.
Why is that?
As soon as you swallow it, your digestive system just goes to work breaking it down. You can lose up to 75% of it before it even gets into your bloodstream where it's needed.
Plus, you get all those nasty side effects, right? The bloating, stomach issues. It's not a great solution. So if the main path is failing, the body needs a backup plan.
And it has one, a really ingenious one, actually. It's called the nitrate pathway. This is where the body uses dietary nitrates from food to create that steady supply of NO.
And we know where to find those. Things like beets, spinach, garlic, nuts and seeds, even dark chocolate. But just eating those foods isn't a silver bullet. The sources say you need around 300 milligrams a day, but the amount in, say, a beet can vary wildly. Like by 50 times.
Right.
So it's not consistent.
Right. And this brings us to what I think is the most surprising part of this whole story, a discovery from an MIT scientist. It turns out the conversion of that nitrate from your food, it doesn't happen where you think. It has to start in your mouth.
Here's where it gets really interesting. In the mouth, why?
Because the very first step requires a specific type of good bacteria that lives on your tongue. These bacteria have a special enzyme that we don't. It's what turns the nitrate from your food into something called nitrate. Without that first step, without those bacteria, you could eat a whole field of spinach and your body couldn't turn it into nitric oxide. The whole process is dead in the water.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that using a common mouthwash or even certain kinds of toothpaste could be sabotaging this entire Nobel Prize-winning pathway in my body?
That is the clear implication, yes. The sources estimate that 2 out of 3 people don't have enough of this crucial bacteria on their tongue. And the main culprit is our oral hygiene. Mouthwash, especially, and some fluoride toothpaste are designed to kill bacteria indiscriminately. They wipe out the good guys along with the bad.
That is a huge aha moment.
Yeah.
You think you're doing something healthy, keeping your mouth clean, and you're actually shutting down the system your body uses to fight aging.
It's a huge obstacle, and it's what led researchers at the University of Texas Health Science Center to develop a very targeted solution. They needed a formula that could work even in people with a sluggish endothelium and low levels of that oral bacteria.
And a normal pill wouldn't work because it just gets swallowed. It bypasses the mouth.
Yeah. Exactly. So they developed a special lozenge, one that dissolves right on the tongue where it can mix with whatever good bacteria are left and kickstart the whole process right where it needs to begin. And they came up with this 5-ingredient formula designed to attack the problem from all sides, not just supplying nitrates, but protecting the system too. The first one is hawthorn. It's sometimes called the weed that keeps blood flowing. Its main job is to protect the endothelial cells from damage. One study showed it gave the cells 6 times more protection than other herbs.
6 times. So it's not just a patch. It's actually protecting the engine from future damage.
Exactly. Then for the nitrate source, they use a concentrated beetroot powder. There was a study with cyclists where drinking beet juice for 6 days boosted their nitric oxide by 96%, almost double. and they could pedal longer with less oxygen.
That's real efficiency. Okay, but what about the L-arginine problem, the one that breaks down in the gut?
They found a brilliant workaround. They use L-citrulline. L-citrulline is an amino acid that your body converts into L-arginine after it passes through the digestive system.
So it's like a protected delivery vehicle.
Precisely. It doesn't get broken down. One study showed it boosted L-arginine levels by 38% in just 7 days. And people had better muscle power, better focus.
Amazing. And the last two are vitamins, right?
Right. A good dose of vitamin B12, which is crucial for nerve endings in the brain and memory. Low B12 is directly linked to lower nitric oxide. And then vitamin C.
A powerful antioxidant.
One of the best. It helps clear out all the junk, the oxidative stress that damages the endothelium, especially in people over 60. It strengthens the whole system.
So the combination is designed to hit everything: protection, nitrates, the L-arginine pathway, and antioxidant support. But what's really striking is how fast it seems to work.
The results from the testing are incredible. The lozenge format was shown to increase blood flow by 34% in just 10 minutes for patients with high blood pressure.
10 minutes.
And in another study, nitric oxide levels shot up by 650% in less than 20 minutes.
650% in under half an hour. That's a staggering biological change.
Yeah.
It's not like diet or exercise that takes weeks.
It's a fundamental reset, and the broader impact is just as impressive. In a 30-day study, people with high triglycerides saw their levels drop by up to 55% with no other changes. And subjectively, people just felt better. They reported feeling more relaxed, less anxious, they were sleeping better, and of course they had a huge surge in energy. They were reversing the very symptoms they thought were just part of getting old.
And we see that reflected in the real-world stories from the sources. A 64-year-old man saying he feels 40 years younger. An 81-year-old who went from walking 1 kilometer a day to 5. There were others who saw their blood pressure normalize, getting readings like 110/67. And the mental clarity piece is huge. People saying it's easier to remember names and faces, just clearer thinking. That has to be from better blood flow to the brain.
It all just reinforces the main point. When your cells are properly flushed with oxygen and nutrients, you feel good. And the sources make it clear, even if you're already healthy, this system naturally declines. It's an age-related deficit that just needs a targeted boost.
So to recap this whole deep dive, what we're really saying is that so many of the things we just accept as getting old, the low energy, the brain fog, the aches, the high blood pressure, they aren't the root problem. They're symptoms. Symptoms of a single underlying issue. A decline in our body's circulatory engine, the endothelium, driven by a natural shortage of nitric oxide. And it's a problem made worse by, of all things, our oral hygiene habits.
This raises an important question. Given how profoundly important nitric oxide is, it's tied to virtually every aspect of cardiovascular aging, why isn't screening for NO levels a standard part of a medical checkup? Why are we waiting for the symptoms to appear when we could be proactively monitoring the health of this foundational system?
That is a really powerful thought to leave our listeners with. We might be missing the most fundamental indicator of our circulatory health. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you can take this knowledge and maybe reconsider how your own daily habits, even something as simple as the mouthwash you use, might be affecting your biology on the deepest level.
If you found this helpful, hit like. It really helps the channel. Let me know in the comments, what parts surprised you most? And if you want more videos like this, subscribe and turn on notifications.